What is Terraform and why do we need to learn it? So, I don't want to talk about theory part that we use Terraform to provide infrastructure. So, let's see that in action. So, what if you want to create a VPC on AWS? So, what do you usually do? So, you log into console and go to VPC section. Then you can you can create VPC and you're gonna fill all the required things, and you will create VPC. So if you want to launch an EC2 machine, what you're gonna do? So the same thing you're gonna do. You jump into EC2 section, then you're gonna click on launch instance, and then you will fill the required steps. So instead of doing this, so if you want to create 10 instances at a time, so you can in different availability zones, or you want to use different keys, so that you have to deploy that EC2 machine 10 times, so it's going to take waste a lot of time, right? So even if you want to terminate them, so you of course you could do that in a single you can sell multiple at a time, then you can do that. So but what if you want to create them at the same time, and in the console you won't be able to do that, so it's going to consume a lot of time. So what if you write code, and if you once you run that code, so then you're going to deploy your infrastructure as per your need. So let's see, let's create a VPC through Terraform. So in this region Hyderabad, I don't have any VPC, so I just deleted the default one. So before practicing this Terraform, before writing it, so what you can do, just install Visual Code in your system. So this is going to save you a lot of time. So of course you can write this code in Notepad as well, but you would face syntax errors because of some space and missing some brackets, etc. So it's good to use Visual Code. Then once you install Visual Code, go to extension, then search for Terraform in the search bar. Then install this extension HashiCorp Terraform. So because this one is going to highlight your syntax, so then you don't need to type everything. So it's autofill, so that saves a lot of time. So let's see that in action. So don't worry about the syntax, because in later lectures I'm gonna explain the syntax, but just try to understand what it does. So in Terraform, whatever you're gonna type, what you can name anything, you can name anything, your file name. So, but just put extension as .tf. So for instance, I'm gonna type ppc.tf. So automatically it's gonna put logo of that Terraform over here. So then you can imagine that this is the TF files. That whenever you put .tf at the end, so it's a Terraform configuration file. So how you gonna write? So basically you don't know how to do that. So then what you can do, just Google it, Terraform AWS VPC. Then just go to the official docs. Then they have been given an example. So just copy this stuff, and, come back and paste it. So if I save it, then just press Control and the tick symbol, then you will get a prompt over here. Otherwise, what you can do, right click on here, then open in integrated terminal. Okay, I already installed Terraform in this machine, so what I'm going to do, just I'm going to run okay, if you just created your folder as a project folder, then you just created a file in it. So what you have to do, the first command, you have to do Terraform init. So it's gonna initiate that plugins that that Terraform needs to uh, run actions based on your resources. So in this case, it just initializes some plugins. Then how am I going to tell that Terraform to create infrastructure in AWS? So even though I created this resource file, but then how would this, if I run that some Terraform commands, then how does Terraform know that it has to create infrastructure in AWS? So because we have we use the AWS resources, so it knows it. But how it's gonna connect to this AWS account particularly? So for that, what I'm gonna do, either you can run AWS configure command, you can run this command, or you can export AWS variable. So for that, we need to write a provider blocks. Either we can write that uh, provider block in a different file, or we can write it in the same file, so it doesn't matter. So it's good to write in a different file. So I'm going to name it as provider.tf. Then what you can do, if you don't know how to do this, so just Google it, provider AWS Terraform, click on it. So you can do this way. So come back here, then just give the reason. So in this case, I'm looking for AP South 2. So let's change that region to AP iPhone South iPhone 2. Then I'm gonna save it. So what you can do is just run AWS configure. Otherwise, you can give them as variables as well, but that's not the ideal way, because if you push this code to your source control such as GitHub or GitLab, so it's going to be exposed. So it's not that's not a good way to do. So what you can do, even I can remove this region as well. I'm just going to create this empty block, providers block. Then I'm going to run the AWS configure in my local machine. So that's the way I'm going to save those credentials in my local machine. So AWS configure. So once you run that, you can get that secret key and access key from here. Just go to click on security credentials. Okay. Then go down. Then okay, I do have some keys over here, so I'm just gonna delete them. Deactivate, and then delete. I'm gonna delete this one as well. I'm not using anymore because I can't remember when did I use it. So just delete them. So I'm gonna create new credentials, create an access, click on create access key. Then for command line interface, then I understand. Next, give it a name. I could say Terraform keys. It doesn't matter. You can name anything though. Then it creates. Make sure to save them as at save place. So because you once you click on done, you won't be able to see the secret key. Of course, you can see access key, but you won't see secret access key. So I just copy the secret so access key, then come back here, then paste the code. Then it's going to ask for secret key. Then copy the secret key, come back here, then give it a region. So in this case, AP South 2, and after the JSON, that's it. So then we just given that provider name. So then what you can do, just do Terraform init again. So it's gonna, since it already pulled those AWS plugins. So once you run Terraform init, then you can do this command. What it does, so it's gonna create a VPC with these cidr range. So once you run Terraform init, then you can do Terraform plan. So plan shows it's a blueprint. So if you run a plan, so it says that this command, once you run once you apply these things, so it's going to create one resource with these values. So of course you will be known, these values will be known after apply. Then do Terraform apply. Whenever you run Terraform apply, initially it runs Terraform plan. You can see here, once you press S, then it's going to apply these values. So it seems one resource is being added. So if you come back to your VPC section, we are in different regions, so let's switch to that Hyderabad region. Then if you look into VPC, now you can see that VPC. So if you want to add these tags, you can do that. What you can do, you can just do tags, then name, let's say just a VPC, save it and rerun. So what it does, it's just gonna update the changes. It's not gonna do anything. In this at this stage, it says one to add. It says one to add. Okay, if I run the Terraform apply now, excuse me. Now it says one to change because this one is going to change. You could see here as well that place means it's gonna add. So it's gonna add this name, tags and tags also. If I press yes, if you refresh it, yeah, you could see that just over here. So this way you can create your infrastructure, you can code it, and once you run that code, so then it's gonna create them. So if you want to delete them, what you can do Terraform destroy. Just use this command carefully because it's gonna delete all of your configuration. So it's been destroyed. So if I refresh here, yeah, it's been gone. So this way, I do have my current infrastructure in different regions. So what I do, if I want to test something quickly, so if I want to create a EC2 machine, so I usually go to that folder, then I would run the Terraform commands that creates my EC2 machines as per my need. Once I'm done with them, so I usually run Terraform destroy, so it's gonna delete. So it saves a lot of time. So you don't even need to log into this console every time. So that's a quick introduction about Terraform. Then why do we need to use this Terraform? So because it supports multi cloud platform. Even you can use Terraform for this AWS, and you can use it for Azure, and you can use it for other clouds. So you can check here. Even so you can so it supports Azure as well. So if you just learn Terraform, you can deploy your infra on AWS as well as Azure, and if you want even other clouds as well. So of course we got native tool, ISA tool in AWS. That's a cloud formation, but I personally prefer to use this one. Of course it depends on organizations norms. So most of the organizations they started using this Terraform, so it's good to learn Terraform now.